Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Right, today I'm going to pick out the best player in every Premier League squad that you can afford to sell this summer. Let's go. Arsenal, Willian. Christ, this will probably be the only video that Willian's included in this season that's got best in the title. The bloke's been an absolute disaster at the Emirates, which is exactly why most fans didn't want him in the first place. I mean, why on earth did they give him a 3-year deal? Chelsea wouldn't do it, so why should you, Arsenal? Stop taking people's sloppy seconds, especially when they're in the 30s and absolutely past it. In fact, that's life advice for anyone really, not just Arsenal. Willian is not a liked man at Arsenal, feeling the uncensored wrath of Arsenal Fans TV and all their alumni. But will the Gunners be able to sell him this summer? Probably not, but they definitely should, even if they've got to give him away on a dodgy Gumtree ad. Aston Villa, DOUGLAS.LUIZ. 2 teams in and 2 Brazilians, but this one might baffle Aston Villa fans, especially when you consider how good DOUGLAS.LUIZ has been. He arrived as a man who just couldn't get in the City team due to work permit issues, despite having a huge fan in Pep Guardiola. He was such a big fan in fact, that he insisted that City have got a buyback clause. So no matter how good DOUGLAS.LUIZ does, there will always be a lingering threat that he could return to Man City and be branded the new Fernandinho. It'll cost them 30 million quid to bring him back next summer, so if Villa do try and sell him, they're basically guaranteed to get at least 30 million, which is double what they paid in 2019. Then when City do buy him back and he does nothing, they can get him back on loan 6 months later. It's the perfect crime. Brighton, Neal Maupay. If Brighton could score goals, they'd be in the top half, and as Gino De Campo famously said before he became a bit pervy on Celebrity Juice, if my grandmother had wheels she'd be a bike. The Seagulls are in the thick of a relegation battle, despite XG fans dreaming of Graham Potter in their sleep. I mean, it's great that they create so many chances, but it's no use if there's no one to score them. There's no such thing as the XG trophy. It's like when Man United was celebrating winning the title in December. Maupay looked decent last season, I'll give him that, but the reason Brighton are where they are is because they can't score goals. Maupay is their main striker and he clearly isn't up to the task. Get him sold and bring someone else in. I hear Sergio Aguero might be available this summer. Burnley, Nick Pope. Considering Sean Dyche only wants a pint and a packet of crisps, I think you can definitely expect to see Nick Pope leave Burnley this summer. The England goalkeeper's been linked with a £50 million move to Tottenham, and personally, I think Burnley should take it. Even though they've got new owners, the Clarks have barely got a pot to piss in. These new blokes have just turned up with a load of debt, meaning there isn't going to be a bright new era at Turf Moor with Neymar and Mbappe rocking up in Lancashire. With 50 million quid for Pope, they can spend that on getting 2 or 3 solid players in, and while it might sound mad now, in the long run it might be for the best. Chelsea, Callum Hudson-Odoi. If I was Callum Hudson-Odoi, I would be seriously confused right now. Since Thomas Tuchel came in, he's played more football than ever, except he's playing out of position, and any time he steps an inch out of line, he's dragged off the pitch and put in the naughty step like it's an episode of Super Nanny. The longer this keeps happening to Hudson-Odoi, the more his confidence is going to suffer, and the next thing he knows he's wondering which songs to listen to on the bus journey to Middlesbrough for his next championship game. Chelsea might as well just get rid now while they can still get huge money for him. Tuchel clearly does want to play him high up the pitch, and he's never going to work as an actual right wing back. They'll be better off just getting Victor Moses back. Crystal Palace, LUKA MILIVOJEVIC. The days of LUKA MILIVOJEVIC being a force in the Premier League are over, and sadly they have been for a while. He was brought in by Sam Allardyce back in January 2017 and immediately proved to be something of a star, but nowadays he's shining about as bright as a big bugger's eyes when he realises there's only salad left at the buffet. No longer is Milivojevic banging in free kicks and penalties, he's just trudging around and scything people down as if he's a tree surgeon. Well Luka, it's time to say timber on your Crystal Palace career. That was a weird metaphor. Sorry gardening fans. Everton, Fabian Delph. It's hard to believe that Fabian Delph is actually a 2-time Premier League winner. Go back to the Amazon documentary and he's the one mouthing off in the changing room asking for more whilst Pep plots the next midfielder he's going to turn into a left back. It's 2021 now, and whether it's left back or centre midfield, Fabian Delph has been an Everton disaster. He looked like an astute signing, but that couldn't be further from the truth nowadays. Everton need to get rid this summer, and if everything I've said here comes true, then his next move might be staring him in the face. I mean, Aston Villa will need a new centre midfielder who can slither through the defence. Fulham, ALEKSANDAR Mitrovic. At the start of the season, you looked at Fulham and thought, they haven't got much, but at least there's a goal scorer there in ALEKSANDAR Mitrovic. Every season he's had at Fulham, the Serbian has netted double figures. But 6 months on from the start of the season, and Mitrovic can't even get in the team. Fulham have brought in Josh Maja to score the goals, while Mitrovic just has to settle for cameos off the bench where all he gets to do is throw elbows and pray that VAR doesn't catch him. Scott Parker's clearly got no use for Mitrovic, so the best thing to do is get him sold. Leeds, KIKO. Unless Patrick Bamford's heading to Real Madrid this summer, picking someone for Leeds was quite difficult. I mean, every player plays his part in some sort of weird and wonderful way. I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you what position Stuart Dallas plays, but whatever it is he does is damn good. KIKO Casilla is probably the best player they can afford to get rid of, as the bloke never plays in the league, looked like a disaster in the FA Cup, and is doing his best to convince his teammates that he really did play for Real Madrid in real life, and not just on FIFA. Leicester Kelechichieanacho. He scored a cracking volley the other night against Burnley, but seriously, Leicester need to give it up with Kelechichieanacho. If Leicester seriously want to be considered as a top 4 club, then they need someone better as backup for Jamie Vardy. Iheanacho can be so ineffective up front you'd rather have an actual bowl of nachos, slathered in cheese, maybe some chilli, bit of sour cream, crispy onions, guacamole, wash it down with a beer. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Kelechichieanacho. Yeah, he hasn't lived up to the hype and needs to go to a club where he can play consistently. The better Leicester gets, the less they're going to need the Nigerian. Liverpool Roberto Firmino. There was a time when Bobby Firmino was the glue that held this Liverpool team together. He was the key component of a fluid front three, and without him they just couldn't function. But over the past 18 months, Bobby Firmino has gone so far backwards that he thinks Liverpool are managed by Roy Hodgson nowadays. A striker's job's to score goals, and that's exactly what Firmino doesn't do. I mean, that goal he got against Sheffield United, it was a dazzling run, but his effort was going so far wide that George Baldock was getting ready to take a throw in. Whether Diogo Jota takes his place or they sign a new striker, it's time for Liverpool to move on from Bobby Firmino and get some money for him while they still can. Manchester City Benjamin Mendy. I mean, the man can't even get on the bench these days. That's a testament to how deep Man City's squad is and how little trust Pep's got in Benjamin Mendy. They've got João Cancelo who plays, well, wherever he wants. Zinchenko does a job at left back. Christ, even Nathan Ake gets the odd game there after every time Pep finds him crying in the training ground toilets, wishing he just stayed at Bournemouth. But Benjamin Mendy, he looked like the man when he first arrived, but injuries have just killed his Premier League career and it's time to call it a day. Pep spent a lot of money on fullbacks, now it's time to make some money. Manchester United David De Gea. He's had a great run, but I think it's time for Man United to call it a day on David De Gea, because if they don't, they risk losing Dean Henderson, the man who is destined to be the club's number 1. It's a bold decision, but it's one they need to make. The rival City had to do it themselves a few years back, as Roberto Mancini went with a young Joe Hart over the established Shea Given. Sure, that ended in tears when Pep Guardiola came in and pissed all over Hart's cornflakes, but Hart was good up until that point. De Gea's been a wonderful servant, but it's time to get rid this summer. Where he goes, I've got absolutely no idea. Newcastle United KARL Darlow. From one goalkeeper to another, Newcastle need to cash in on KARL Darlow this summer. The stopper had a wonderful start of the season, where he made incredible save after incredible save to keep the Magpies out the relegation zone, and sure Newcastle fans forgot all about the injured Martin Dubravka. But now Darlow's out of the team and can't afford to spend the rest of his days just sitting on the bench. He's had a proper taste of first team football and proven that he can do it in the Premier League. But he's not better than Martin Dubravka, so as I say, it's time for Newcastle to get their money in the bank briefcase and cash in. Sheffield United Sander Berge. He was a big name when he first arrived, but as time has passed, it's clear that Sheffield United and Sander Berge are about as much of a match made in heaven as TalkSport Radio and well-measured, thought-out opinions. But despite his struggles, he's probably the most sellable asset that the Blades have got, which is why they need to move him on this summer. He probably won't be arsed. I mean, I doubt he even knows where Luton is, so there's no chance he's going to go and play against them. Southampton Fraser Forster. I'm shocked that Fraser Forster is still at Southampton, to be honest. First he fell out of favour, didn't play a single game, then went back to Celtic and all was right with the world. He was playing well and making saves, then he came back to Southampton and normality has just resumed. Mate, just go back to Celtic, they desperately need you, and you need them. Or at least give Neil Lennon a call, he might have some really high bushes that need cutting or something. Tottenham Dele Alli. If you ask Roy Keane, none of the Tottenham players are actually any good. But I could be outlandish and extreme and say that Tottenham need to sell Harry Kane, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, it's Dele Alli who has to go. The lad's just a shadow of his former self. I know he kind of scored against Fulham even though it was an own goal. But there's been so many injuries, there's been spats with the managers, or just a manager to be honest, but unless someone changes in the dugout, it seems as though Dele Alli is destined to stagnate like 3-week-old spaghetti bolognese. Once upon a time he was being spoke about in the same breath as Lampard and Gerrard, but in 2021 his only chance of going to the Euros is if the BBC need another pundit. He can be a top player and needs to move on as soon as possible. West Brom Jake Livermore. I mean, there aren't many good West Brom players, are there? That's kind of why they're destined to go down. Jake Livermore, there's a name for you. Let's move on. West Ham Manuel Lanzini. Gone are the days of Manuel Lanzini being a key player at West Ham. No one knew anything about him when he first arrived, but he quickly established himself as something of a star, and nearly even got an even bigger move. But honestly, this season he's just living off that cracking goal he got against Spurs. He can be a good player, but not for David Moyes' West Ham. Wolves' Adama Traore. The longer Adama Traore plays, the sooner people realise that he's got absolutely no end product. Sure, he was great last season, but there's no consistency at all. Wolves need to cash in now while they can still get a small fortune for the former Borough lad. Yeah, he's exciting, he runs at players and lubes his arms up like a weird porn star, but that's no use unless he's going to score goals or create them. If you want to be praised just for having long hair, big muscles and slippery arms, then you need to join the WWE, forget the Premier League. So there we have it, that's the best player at your club who I think should be sold this summer. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to HITC Sport, and until next time we will see you around.